Story 1. Am I the a-hole for asking my boyfriend to charge his family member for fraud? I spoke with my boyfriend about my concerns and was honest with him that things he was telling me didn't all make sense. He was adamant he didn't know anything about the credit card or the apparent inquiries on his credit account about payday loans. My boyfriend is still refusing to open any fraud investigations against his family member and has said he will pay off the debt himself, but some other things came out during our conversation that he was hiding from me. Lying has been a big issue of his during our whole relationship. In the past, I've forgiven him for his lies, but I can't keep forgiving the same issue every few months when he promises to change. But we're in the same spot every few months. And I'm not talking little lies, I'm talking big lies and even bigger lies to cover up those lies. I know I'm stupid for giving him the benefit of the doubt. So, in saying this, my boyfriend is now my ex-boyfriend. When I spoke with my boyfriend about my concerns above, he ended up picking up his bag and walking out on me and drove away. That was the last time I saw him in person. This is how this man dealt with an issue in our 5-year relationship. We haven't spoken much since, but I have definitely resigned to the fact my relationship is over. I think he's expecting me to forgive him like all the previous times. I've packed up his stuff and will return to him after my city comes out of our 6th lockdown. There is a good ending to the story, though. I spoke with my mortgage broker and the housing developers. I can't afford the original townhouse I fell in love with alone, but a smaller townhouse that I also loved came available, and I've been approved for this one. I paid my deposit 3 days before my birthday last month. I bought a house by myself. Well, first off, congratulations on being able to get a house that you like by yourself. That's awesome. Sucky way to have to go about it and everything, and it sucks that your relationship went that way too, but honestly, yeah, if you're having that many issues with honesty in a relationship and your boyfriend keeps lying to you about fairly major things every couple of months, that's a really big red flag and something that, yeah, if you're trying to kind of talk with him about it and he's just not doing anything, what more can you do? Folks, you gotta be honest. You gotta be upfront, okay? I know I was about to say it's not that hard. It can be hard. I'm certain it can be hard sometimes, but, it's harder breaking up and having to find a new place and deal with all that stuff. I'm pretty sure that's harder. So maybe just tell the truth. Oh, and charge your family with fraud. Screw them. Paying off their debt? No, that ain't okay. Story 2. Entitled parent ignores her kid at a print shop. Kid loses finger. I worked for a research facility which funds clinics handing patients for our area of expertise. To celebrate our first completely funded sites, we decided to create t-shirts to commemorate our success. I was tasked to design the tees and have them printed and produced for our next conference. I secured a local printer to produce the shirts, and when they were completed, I went to the printers to pick them up. When I got there and produced my invoice, they needed to prepare and wrap them, which would take a few minutes, and I could wait in the lobby. While waiting, a woman, entitled parent, and her son, around 5, came in for her order for a family reunion. She barely paid attention to the staff, and when told to wait, she got on her phone, pretty much ignoring her son who was running all around the lobby, screaming to the top of his lungs. He then decided to run behind the counter towards the back where the printing machines were. The counter clerk tried to get the woman's attention, but she just ignored the clerk and continued talking on her phone. The CC did successfully get the kid to go back into the lobby, but she was called to the back to pick up my package. The kid did this as his chance to shoot behind the counter and went running to the back. I thought one of the staff would catch him, but they were swamped with orders and just didn't see him run past. But the time someone spotted him, it was too late. There was a loud, high-pitched scream and crying, and then there was a loud commotion, and it appeared everyone was screaming, except the entitled mom who was still on her phone, oblivious to the chaos coming from the back. That's when another staff member came out carrying the crying kid and holding a bloody towel around his hand and screaming to the receptionist to call 911. Only then did the entitled parent turn around to see her son and then screamed at the staff, "What did you do to my son?" The SM stated that somehow the kid got to the back, ran up to one of the working machines, and stuck his hand in between the hot blades, and it sliced off one of his fingers. The entitled parent started screaming at the SM and CC, berating them, and threatened to sue them while still ignoring her son, still in the SM's arm, who is trying to stop the bleeding. That is when I, a nurse, came up and assessed the situation and got something to slow down the bleeding and try to save the mostly severed finger. As the ambulance pulled up to the EP was still on the phone telling whomever she was talking to what happened to her son, and she still hadn't checked or even touched her son. The SM transferred the boy to the EMTs and they put him in the ambulance and took him to the hospital. The a-hole of an entitled parent actually waited and demanded her package before she even attempted to follow the ambulance to the hospital. A month later, when I went back to the printers for another order of teas, I had to ask if they ever heard what happened to the little boy. He did lose his finger, and the entitled mom was charged with neglect due to testimony by the staff of the shop. Didn't find out much more than that, but I do hope that entitled parent did not regain custody of that poor kid. Just wanted to thank everyone who gave me an award and for all the upgrades. I would like to add that this happened in the late 1980s. I told my daughter and that I posted this, and she reminded me that she was with me at the printers when it happened. She was mortified at the entitled parent's behavior. I'm now 73 years old, and it is still just so visual in my mind. As for why they didn't use my testimony was that they had video evidence that the staff was not even aware that there was a kid in the shop, let alone that he was running around. The CC did not tell the back as he didn't think the entitled parent would let her kid go past the counter from the lobby. It showed that she was not paying attention to her son, and he got back there and it happened so fast that no one had time to react. Parents, pay attention to your kids in public spaces. Not just because they might lose a finger and now this child has to live the rest of his life without that finger because of your neglect, entitled parent, but even just for the sanity of other people. Children running around screaming, causing havoc and stress to other people. Your kid should not be their problem. Your kid is your problem. So get off the big old brick 80s phone that you got to your head or whatever and take care of your kid. It's your responsibility. Just, how is it that hard? It's not. It is. Being a parent is hard, but you decided to be a parent. I can't help you there. You already made the decision, so maybe you have to follow through with it. Story 3. Religious nutjob entitled parents don't approve of me dating their son. I was attending an anime convention around 2 years ago, and it was the first time I had gathered the courage to cosplay. Doki Doki Literature Club had been out for maybe a month or two and was super popular, so me and my friends decided to go as the main girls, with me, of course, dressing up as Monica. The whole thing was amazing. Conventions themselves are always fun, but when you're cosplaying, it's a whole new thing. During this time, it wasn't uncommon to have people come up to give all 4 of us compliments or ask to take pictures with us. It's also important to note that for whatever reason, that there's protesters at these conventions. They're your usual overbearing religious nutjob fun police types, but I have no idea what they actually protest. Anyway, one day we're walking around when this guy who looks to be about our age comes up to me and my friends. We're going out for food, and has this conversation with us about our costumes, getting into the game, giving us compliments, etc. He then asks to take some pictures with us, asking for some specific photos. One is where we're all trying to pull at him, and then he wants to take a one-on-one photo with each of us, with me looking in the background, looking angry or spooky. It makes sense if you've seen or played the game. The final picture is of me holding onto his arm with a big smile while he looks terrified. After the photo, we're exchanging Instagram info, and I casually ask if he's there with anyone, and he got super uncomfortable and said that he was there with his family. As the day goes on, we're messaging each other over Instagram, and things have started to get pretty flirty. Eventually, he asks me out to dinner at a restaurant near the hotel we're staying at. The date itself was pretty good. He was funny. We watched a lot of the same shows and could banter back and forth on differences in opinion. A few weeks go by, and we're dating at this point. We're over at his place, and things are getting pretty hot and heavy on the sofa. Luckily, nothing too raunchy was going on because his parents walked in with groceries out of nowhere. Apparently, he hadn't told them about me because they were all like, "Oh, who are you?" Although they didn't seem too upset on what they had walked in on. I'm beyond mortified, but the parents sit down across from us after putting the groceries down and start asking questions. What's my name? How did we meet? Etc. Both of them seemed very excited to meet me at first. I introduce myself and tell the story of how we met and pull up our photo together with me in costume and show it to them. They get these grim looks on their faces like they've just found out I killed someone and give their son his death glare. At this point, they're asking me to leave, and I'm asking if I did something wrong and apologizing if I did. It's just we want someone modest for our son, and we don't see you two being a good match. What? You don't exactly line up with our beliefs is all. Please leave. We need to talk with our son. I don't understand. You need me to spell it out? He doesn't need some atheist S in his life. Mom! Don't raise your voice to your mother. Walk your little friend out and say goodbye. They argue for another minute or two before my boyfriend walks me out. He gives me a kiss and tells me he's sorry and he'll call me later. When he finally calls back, he explains how his parents helped organize those protests at conventions and how they had some weird views like that. He said he fought with them for over an hour about how he was done with their BS after they demanded he never speak to me again. He ended up moving in with me about a month after that. It was kind of soon, but he really didn't have anywhere to go since his parents had given him an ultimatum, and apparently his entire family is like that. On the bright side, we're still together, so at least the story has a bit of a happy ending. I don't know, maybe his parents just played Doki Doki Literature Club and were a little bit suspicious of the character that you chose to be. Frankly, I think those parents were on to your little scheme, Monica. If any of you haven't played Doki Doki Literature Club and you don't understand what that's a reference to, I would suggest it, but I would also suggest if you are sensitive to certain violent things that you look up content warnings beforehand, because it's a lot. It's a lot. As far as this, boy oh boy, hyper-religious controlling parents, do you want to know a great way to push your child away and make sure that they'll never want to listen to you and go down your path in life? Do something like this. Just do that, and I'm sure that you will force them right into the devil's arms. Ah ha ha ha! What was that? Story 4. Coworker tried to claim my 15-page report as her own work to the CEO and got outed in front of him. This was a young woman who only got her job especially made for her because her dad was golfing buddies with our CEO. She regularly blamed her team for her numerous mistakes and took all the credit for their hard work. Let's call her B. I used to do trade shows, and after the fall season, would be back in the office and create a comprehensive report of the results of the shows, normally 15-plus pages. The Veeps always wanted paper reports, not attachments, so I normally printed them out and distributed them personally to the staff. I handed B her copy as we passed in the corridor, then watched in sheer amazement as she marched straight into the CEO's office and said, "I kid you not, here boss, I just put this together for you." Stunning, the report was all about trade shows and she wasn't even in the same department. Cue the revenge. I marched in there right after her and said, "Oh, B, I just realized that my report has some numerical errors. Let me have it back and I'll get you a revised one." All the while staring at the CEO with a slightly raised eyebrow. As I left, I heard the most wonderful words from the CEO. "Aiku, would you please close the door as you leave?" B came out about 5 minutes after, looking like a ripe tomato. I couldn't resist asking, "How was your little tete-a-tete with our boss?" I love it when bad managers get what's coming to them. Ooh, 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 ooh. Bad bosses, bad managers who just like to claim other people's work as their own. What a gamble you're taking. What a stupid gamble, because especially this day and age, like with more and more digital stuff and digital receipts and all that kind of stuff, it's so easy to prove that you didn't do what you're claiming to do. Like, you are climbing a ladder to success that's made out of, graham crackers. Like, one wrong move, one stupid mistake like that, where you just try and do something this blatantly, then everything's just gonna crumble out from under you. Or, maybe she got talked to a bit and she was just fine. The CEO's just like, nah, you shouldn't do that in front of the employees. You got to steal from them in sneakier ways. Let me show you how. Yeah, I mean, that's probably more likely, huh? Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.